My name is Principal Donovan, and yes, we are being formal, because I am the principal of the Stellar Preparatory Academy.
These regulations
the
are
most
absolute. Adhere
prestigious
strictly.
interspecies
I understand. They will be
institution
followed.
in this
Good.
quadrant.
Proceed.
For 30 academic cycles, I have overseen students from more than 200 species. Methane breathers, silicon-based life forms, even the crystalline entities from the Omega sector who communicate entirely through chromatic pulses. I believed I had seen everything. I was wrong. The human arrived on a Tuesday. Why is it always Tuesday? I was in my office reviewing transfer applications when my secretary, Flix, a remarkably efficient six-armed Yolteran, glided in on his hover platform. Principal Donovan, he said, his antennae twitching, the human transfer student has arrived for registration. The human. Ever since Central Command initiated the Terra Integration Program, I had known this day was coming. Earth, a Class 12 death world. A planet where the climate tries to kill you. The oceans try to kill you. The wildlife tries to kill you. The microorganisms try to kill you. And, somehow, humans evolve there. Send him in, I said, straightening my ceremonial sash. The door slid open, and in walked disappointment. He was not the towering war beast I had prepared for. No visible armor plating. No talons. No venom socks. No exoskeletal reinforcement. Just a teenage male. Brown hair. Forward-facing eyes. Bilateral symmetry. 2 hands. No natural weapons. He wore something called jeans and a shirt that read, "I'm not short. I am fun-sized." "Good morning, Principal Donovan," he said brightly. "I'm Marcus Vep. I'm really excited to be here." He smiled. Humans expose their teeth when they are pleased. Predators display their teeth before they bite. I kept my voice steady. "Welcome to the Stellar Preparatory Academy, Marcus Webb of Earth." I pulled up his academic record on my holo display. High marks in biology and chemistry. Exceptional comprehension of molecular breakdown processes. Of course, a species from a death world would naturally excel at understanding how things fall apart. "We're pretty good at that," Marcus said cheerfully. I clear my throat. "Before enrollment, you must understand our primary regulation. The most important rule on campus. Absolutely no weapons are permitted." He nodded. "No plasma rifles. No molecular disruptors. No concealed blades. No toxic projectiles. No combat implements of any kind. This is an academy, not a battlefield." Marcus nodded again. "Calm. Relaxed. No weapons. Got it." Then he smiled wider. Something about that smile made my secondary stomach tighten. "If you are carrying any weapons," I continued carefully, "you must surrender them now. They will be secured until graduation." Marcus tilted his head slightly. "Principal Donovan," he said pleasantly, "I'm not carrying any weapons." "None?" I asked. "None." Technically reassuring. Instinctively terrifying. Because when a predator says it has no weapons, it usually means it doesn't need them. I completed his registration, assigned him to Dormitory Wing 7, and handed him his schedule. "Classes begin at 0800 hours. Do not be late." "Wouldn't dream of it," he replied. He waved, an informal human gesture of goodwill, and left my office. The door closed. Flix buzzed back in. "How did it go, sir?" I stared at the empty doorway. "I believe," I said slowly, "we may have made a mistake." The next morning confirmed my suspicion. By midday, I had received 14 incident reports. 14. All involving Marcus Webb. In advanced combat simulation, students were tasked with surviving against holographic predators. Most species rely on natural advantages, claws, venom, armor, bioelectric discharges. Marcus had none of these. When 6 razor wolves materialized around him, he did not panic. He picked up a rock. He threw it with shocking accuracy. He tore a branch from a simulated tree and used it as a club. When it snapped, he used the jagged edge as a spear. When one wolf lunged, Marcus swept its legs and restrained it with his bare arms. 6 predators neutralized. No enhancements. No weapons. Just hands. And strategy. "How did I do?" he asked his instructor afterward. The report ended with a single line. The human weaponized the environment. And himself. By lunch, half the student body was afraid of him. The other half was fascinated. And Marcus? Marcus had no idea why. He moved through the cafeteria casually, loading his tray with acidic fruits, capsaicin-laced peppers, and peanut butter, a substance capable of triggering lethal reactions in his own species. He ate quickly, efficiently, minimizing vulnerability. When asked about Earth, he described sharks with 300 teeth, bears weighing 800 pounds, venomous spiders, blood-drinking insects responsible for millions of deaths. He described all of this with nostalgia. "We adapt," he said. "We endure. We don't stop." Security Officer Blern requested a threat assessment. Marcus demonstrated flexibility beyond expected spinal limits. He described temperature tolerance ranging from sub-zero extremes to desert heat. He explained endurance running for hours, rapid recovery from injury, damage tolerance, and then he smiled again. By the end of the first day, I understood something profound. The no weapons rule still stood, but its meaning had changed. Humans do not carry weapons. They are weapons. And Marcus Webb had just enrolled. By the second day, the academy had divided itself into two factions: those who believed the human was an anomaly, and those who believed he was a threat. I belonged firmly to the second group. The incident reports did not slow down. They multiplied. Marcus Webb had not violated a single rule. He had not threatened anyone. He had not even raised his voice. Yet everywhere he went, something destabilized. In advanced survival theory, Professor Kthar presented a theoretical scenario: stranded on an uninhabitable moon with limited resources and no technology. Most students proposed signaling for rescue. Marcus proposed building a shelter from wreckage, distilling water from atmospheric condensation, fashioning tools from debris, and establishing a food cycle using local microorganisms. When asked how long he could survive under those conditions, he answered casually, "Indefinitely, if nothing bigger tries to eat me." The class laughed. Professor Kthar did not. In biochemical resistance, students were exposed to controlled, non-lethal environmental irritants to test adaptive response. Methane breathers excelled in toxicity resistance. Silicon-based students dominated in heat tolerance. Marcus volunteered for the cold chamber. The temperature dropped, and dropped, and dropped. Most species entered protective hibernation reflex at minus 20 degrees Celsius. Marcus shivered. "That's it?" he asked. They lowered it further. He began doing physical exercises inside the chamber to maintain circulation. He exited with mild discomfort and asked if there was a hard mode. By midday, rumors spread through the academy network. The human does not fear environmental extremes. The human consumes controlled toxins for pleasure. The human smiles when challenged. That afternoon, the inevitable occurred. Zyrex Valnor requested a formal arena duel. Zyrex was a Varkulian, 8 feet tall, triple-jointed limbs, natural bone plating along the forearms. A species evolved in perpetual territorial combat. He was not merely strong. He was dominant. The arena challenge was legal under academy regulations, provided both participants consented and no weapons were used. I summoned Marcus to my office. "You are not required to accept," I told him. He considered that. Then he shrugged lightly. "I don't want anyone thinking I'm dangerous." "That is precisely the concern," I replied. He smiled again. "I'll be careful." Careful. Against Zyrex Valnor. The arena filled to capacity within minutes. 200 species gathered in concentric viewing tiers. Atmospheric filters adjusted for mixed breathing environments. Security drones hovered above. Zyrex entered first. The ground vibrated under his weight. His armor plating reflected the arena lights. He flexed his forearms, bone ridges clicking into place. Marcus entered second, hands in pockets. "Calm. No armor. No visible provocación." The referee drone projected the rules. Non-lethal engagement. No weapons. No outside interference. The signal sounded. Zyrex charged immediately. A mistake. Marcus did not meet strength with strength. He stepped aside at the last possible moment. Zyrex's momentum carried him forward. Marcus pivoted, applied leverage to the Varkulian's extended limb, and redirected the force. Zyrex crashed into the arena wall. A ripple of shock passed through the crowd. Zyrex roared and attacked again, faster this time. Marcus ducked, rolled, struck pressure points along joint seams where bone plating overlapped softer tissue. He was not overpowering Zyrex. He was analyzing him, studying him, adapting in real time. When Zyrex attempted a grappling crush, an embrace known to shatter rib cages, Marcus dropped his center of gravity and shifted sideways, using Zyrex's own mass to destabilize him. The giant fell. The entire arena went silent. Marcus did not strike. He stepped back, extended his hand. Zyrex stared at it, confused. "Good fight," Marcus said, breathing slightly heavier now. "You're strong." Zyrex hesitated, then accepted the gesture. The arena erupted, not in fear, in astonishment. Zyrex, the most physically imposing student in 3 cycles, had been defeated without brutality, without dominance display, without humiliation. Afterward, in the medical bay, Zyrex refused regenerative treatment. "I was not injured," he stated. "Then why decline?" the medic asked. "I was taught." That evening, Zyrex was seen sitting beside Marcus in the cafeteria. They were discussing something called gym routines. The reports shifted in tone. The human was no longer classified as unpredictable threat. He was now classified as tactical anomaly, which was worse, because anomalies change systems. By the end of the week, students from 5 different species were asking Marcus to teach them Earth combat principles. He called it self-defense. He taught leverage over strength, adaptation over intimidation, endurance over aggression. He never once referred to himself as superior, and that unsettled me more than anything else. I summoned him again. "Marcus," I said carefully, "you have disrupted the Academy's natural hierarchy." He looked genuinely surprised. "I just made friends by defeating our strongest student." He paused. "I didn't defeat him," he corrected gently. "I learned from him. He learned from me. That's kind of the point, right? I studied him. No arrogance. No hidden hostility. Just openness. On Earth," he continued, "if you assume you're the strongest, something stronger eventually proves you wrong. So we don't focus on being the strongest. We focus on being better than yesterday. Better than yesterday." A death world philosophy. The implications were staggering. If an entire species evolved under that principle, then humanity was not dangerous because of aggression. They were dangerous because of growth. And growth does not stop. As Marcus left my office, I accessed the classified Terran file once more. One line stood out that I had previously overlooked. Humans demonstrate exponential adaptability under stress. Exponential, not linear. I leaned back in my chair. For 30 cycles, I had maintained order through structure, regulation, and predictability. Marcus Webb had introduced something new. Momentum. And momentum, once begun, is difficult to contain. I had a growing suspicion. The arena duel was not the climax. It was the beginning. And somewhere beyond our peaceful academy walls, the galaxy was about to learn the same lesson I had. Humans do not arrive to conquer. They arrive to improve. But if threatened, they endure. The warning came 3 days later. Not from student, not from faculty, from orbit. At 0420 hours, Stellar Preparatory Academy received a priority transmission from Sector Command. The signal bypassed standard filters and overrode campus networks, which meant only one thing. This was not a drill. I was in my office reviewing performance analytics when every display shifted to red. Flix's voice trembled as he entered. "Principal Donovan, unidentified vessels have entered the system." "How many?" I asked. 7. Configuration suggests tactical formation. The main holo display activated. 7 ships hung in orbit beyond the outer defense perimeter. Black holes. Angular construction. Energy signatures fluctuating irregularly. I recognized the silhouette immediately. The Carthuan Dominion, a nomadic militaristic faction known for resource reclamation, which was a polite term for conquest. "They have not hailed," Flix added. "Of course they haven't," I muttered. The Academy was not a military installation. We had limited defensive capability, enough to deter pirates, not repel a Dominion strike group. A new message appeared. Planetary authorities were mobilizing, but response time was estimated at 40 minutes. 40 minutes. In combat terms, that was eternity. The Academy population numbered over 8,000 students. 200 species. Mixed atmospheric requirements. Panic would be catastrophic. I activated the internal comm protocol. Attention! I broadcast evenly across campus. This is a precautionary alert. All students proceed to designated safety zones in an orderly manner. The lie tasted bitter. Outside the reinforced windows, distant streaks of light flashed. The Carthuan ships were testing shield strength. Marcus was already in my office before security even notified me. "How bad is it?" he asked. I stared at him. "How do you know something is happening?" He shrugged. Everyone started moving weird. That's usually a sign. Humans read micro-behavioral shifts instinctively. Predator awareness. "Remain in your assigned shelter," I told him firmly. Instead of leaving, he stepped closer to the display. "Those ships," he said quietly, "they're not testing randomly." "What do you mean?" "They're probing for reaction time, seeing where you respond from, measuring delay." I looked again. He was correct. The energy pulses were not scattered. They were mapping. "You have experience with orbital assault strategy?" I asked. He hesitated. "Not personally, but we study wars on Earth. A lot." Of course they did. A death world species would. Another impact rocked the upper shield grid. A smaller Carthuan vessel detached from the main formation. Boarding Kreft. "They're not planning full invasion," Marcus said. "They're testing, maybe scouting for weakness." "How can you possibly deduce that?" "Because if they wanted destruction, they'd already be firing at maximum yield." He wasn't wrong. The impacts were controlled, measured. My mind raced. If they boarded the Academy, chaos would erupt. Multiple species with incompatible stress responses in confined corridors? Disaster. Marcus watched the tactical feed silently. Then he said something that changed everything. "You don't need to beat them." I turned slowly. "Explain." "You just need to make them think this isn't worth it." A deterrence mindset. "Human. They're testing prey behavior," he continued. "So don't act like prey." I folded my hands behind my back. "And how exactly do you propose we do that?" He looked at me and smiled. Not the friendly smile. The other one. The one that unsettled even me. "You have emergency broadcast capability to open channels, right?" "Yes." "Patch me through." "Absolutely not." "Principal Donovan," he said calmly, "they're expecting fear. If you give them something else, they'll hesitate." Another impact trembled through the structure. Time was shrinking. "You are a student," I reminded him. "I'm human." As if that explained everything. I studied him. No arrogance. No recklessness. Just calculation. Finally, I gave the order. The main communication array redirected outward. One of the Carthuan vessels accepted the connection almost instantly. A towering reptilian face filled the display. Scaled. Scarred. Golden eyes unblinking. "Identify yourselves," the commander demanded. I stepped forward. "This is Principal Donovan of Stellar Preparatory Academy. This is a civilian educational institution. Withdraw immediately." The commander's lip curled. "Your shields are weak. Your defense is minimal. We will inspect your resources." Marcus stepped into frame. He was small compared to the alien commander's projection. Insignificant. He waved. "E." The commander blinked. "What species are you?" "Human. From Earth." There was a pause. The commander's pupils narrowed slightly. "We have encountered your kind in border disputes." Marcus nodded casually. "Yeah, that tracks. You are not militarily dominant." Marcus tilted his head. "Depends on the day." I closed my eyes briefly. This was insanity. The commander leaned closer to the projection. "You believe you can deter us?" Marcus shook his head. "No, but I think you've miscalculated." Silence. "You're testing reaction speed." Marcus continued conversationally. "You've mapped shield delay. You're measuring response patterns." The commander did not interrupt. "But here's the thing," Marcus said softly. "You don't know what you just mapped." The reptilian eyes flickered. Marcus folded his arms. "Humans don't build schools without contingency plans, especially not near unstable borders." That was a lie. We had contingency plans. They were insufficient. But Marcus spoke with absolute certainty. You think you're testing civilians, he continued. What if you're testing something else? The commander hesitated. Predators calculate risk. Always. Marcus leaned slightly closer to the screen. We adapt fast. Really fast. If you push, we escalate. And once we escalate, he shrugged lightly. We don't stop. The silence stretched. 40 seconds. A lifetime in tactical decision-making. Finally, the commander spoke. You are bluffing. Marcus smiled. Maybe. And that was the most dangerous answer he could have given. Because uncertainty breeds caution. The Carthuan ships shifted formation. Not attacking. Repositioning. Your academy is noted, the commander said slowly. We will reassess this sector. The transmission cut. The 7 ships turned. And then they were gone. No explosion. No heroic battle. Just withdrawal. The shield grid stabilized. Campus alerts dimmed. Flick stared at me. You had a military deterrent protocol involving a student, he whispered. No, I said honestly. I looked at Marcus. He exhaled slowly, tension finally leaving his shoulders. Were you bluffing? I asked him quietly. He considered. About the contingency plan? Yeah. And about escalation? He met my gaze. No. For the first time since his arrival, I understood the true nature of humanity. They were not the strongest species, not the largest, not the most technologically advanced. They were something far more unsettling. They were convincing, and conviction can halt fleets. As Marcus left the office, I realized something else. The galaxy had just learned that a single unarmed human could stand in front of a warship commander and make him reconsider. And Marcus Webb was still just a student. If this was what one human could do, what would 1,000 accomplish? The Carthuan withdrawal should have been the end of it. It was not. Within hours, the footage had spread across the sector network. The transmission, the human stepping into frame, the smile, the hesitation of a Dominion commander. By the next morning, Stellar Preparatory Academy was no longer simply an educational institution. It was a symbol, and symbols attract attention. Sector Command demanded a full report. Planetary Defense requested clarification on the Human Deterrence Protocol. Political analysts began debating whether humanity had orchestrated the encounter intentionally. They had not, which somehow made it worse. Because it meant the deterrence had been instinctive. I summoned Marcus again. He entered my office carrying a datapad and what appeared to be a half-eaten nutritional bar. You're trending, I informed him. Is that bad? Yes. He sat down without being asked. That lizard guy backed off because he wasn't sure, Marcus said. Predators don't like uncertainty. You spoke with the confidence of a military strategist. He shrugged. On Earth, we call it fake it till you make it. I stared at him. You bluffed a Dominion commander. Yeah. You potentially altered regional power dynamics. He blinked. Oh, that was deeply concerning. Outside the academy, reactions were escalating. Several neighboring systems sent inquiries requesting exchange programs with Earth. Others issued quiet warnings. If humans could deter the Carthuan without firing a shot, what else could they do? Meanwhile, something unexpected began happening inside the academy. Students were changing. Zyrex initiated voluntary cross-species training sessions based on Marcus's leverage techniques. Methane breathers began studying endurance conditioning. The crystalline entities requested instruction in psychological projection. Marcus never claimed leadership, but students gathered around him anyway. He did not preach dominance. He spoke about resilience. Strength isn't about winning, I overheard him say once. It's about not quitting. That phrase spread. It appeared on dormitory walls, on personal datapads. Even Professor Kthar referenced it during a lecture. The Academy's competitive hierarchy began shifting. Previously, species relied on innate advantages, natural armor, venom, atmospheric tolerance. Now students were training beyond their biological defaults, improving weaknesses, testing limits, adapting. It was unsettling, because improvement is contagious. A week after the incident, Sector Command dispatched an observer delegation. 3 officials, 2 security escorts, They arrived expecting to evaluate a volatile human presence. Instead, they witnessed something else. The arena was filled again, but not for combat. For collaboration. Species that previously avoided one another were engaged in cooperative drills. Zyrex sparred with a silicon-based student, adjusting force to prevent damage. Methane breathers practiced endurance exercises alongside oxygen-dependent species using controlled environments. At the center of it all, Marcus, laughing, teaching, learning. One of the observers pulled me aside. "This human," she said carefully, "is he exceptional among his kind?" I hesitated. Honesty seemed wisest. "I do not know." That answer disturbed her. "If he is average," she continued, "then humanity represents exponential destabilization." Destabilization, I corrected gently, or evolution? She did not answer. That evening, I found Marcus sitting alone on the academy observation deck, staring at the stars. "You changed the academy," I said. He shook his head. "I didn't change anything. I just did what humans do." "And what is that?" He leaned back against the railing. "When we're scared, we get better. Simple. Terrifying. Beautiful. Are you afraid?" I asked. He looked at the stars again. "Yeah," he admitted softly. "That fleet? That was real." I was hoping he'd hesitate. And if he hadn't, Marcus was quiet for a moment. Then we would have figured something out. Not bravado, not arrogance, just assumption of adaptation. I realized then that humanity's true power was not physical, not technological. It was psychological. They assume survival. They assume growth. They assume tomorrow exists, and they prepare for it. The political debate continued across the sector. Some labeled humans as destabilizing wildcards. Others began quietly studying Earth's history. War survived. Extinctions endured. Climate shifts adapted to. Technological revolutions survived within mere centuries. Rapid change did not break them. It refined them. 2 weeks later, a message arrived from the Carthuan Dominion. Not a threat, a request. They wished to send observers to study Terran deterrence philosophy. I read the message twice, then a third time. Marcus nearly choked on his drink when I told him. "You scare them into wanting lessons," he said. "It would appear so." He grinned. "Guess they want the harm mode." The galaxy had begun adjusting its perception. Humans were no longer categorized solely as Death World survivors. They were being classified under a new term circulating in academic circles. Adaptive catalysts, agents of change. And change, once introduced, cannot be reversed. As I watched students train together in the arena below, I understood something profound. The Carthuan had not been repelled by force. They had been repelled by possibility. The possibility that humans escalate faster than others anticipate. The possibility that underestimating them carries consequences. The possibility that improvement never stops. Stellar Preparatory Academy was no longer simply preparing students for the galaxy. It was preparing the galaxy for humanity, and whether the sector realized it or not. The first lesson had already begun. Ready for the final chapter? The galaxy did not change overnight. It recalibrated, slowly, carefully, watching. Within a month of the Carthuan incident, 3 major interstellar coalitions had updated their human assessment files. The language shifted from high-risk Death World species to something far more complex. Rapidly adaptive strategic variables. It was the most polite way the galaxy could admit. They did not know what to do with humanity. Requests for Terran exchange programs increased. Military academies quietly began studying human conflict history. Economic councils analyzed Earth's pattern of technological acceleration. And through it all, Marcus Webb continued attending classes. He still arrived slightly early to combat theory. Still laughed too loudly in the cafeteria. Still lost points in galactic linguistics because he refused to memorize formal honorific structures. He was not trying to be a symbol. He was just human. The true revelation came during the Intersector Academic Summit. Once every 5 cycles, representatives from leading academies gathered to observe demonstrations of advancement and cooperation. This time, Stellar Preparatory Academy was selected as host. Because of Marcus. Delegates filled the grand arena. Ambassadors, tacticians, scholars, military observers. Among them were 3 Carthuan envoys. They did not look pleased. I opened the summit with a formal address. For 30 cycles, this institution has prepared students to navigate a diverse and complex galaxy. Today, we demonstrate not dominance, but evolution. Then I stepped aside. The arena floor shifted into modular configurations. Mixed species teams entered. Zyrex stood beside a crystalline strategist. A methane breather coordinated with an oxygen-dependent engineer. A silicon-based tactician directed fluid environment specialists. At the center of one unit, Marcus. The simulation began. Scenario: multi-environment disaster response under hostile interference. Traditionally, species default to strengths. The armored shield, the venomous deterrent, the technologically superior override. This time was different. The team encountered structural collapse in a methane zone. Marcus removed his breathing apparatus. The crowd murmured. He could not survive in methane, but he didn't try to. Instead, he coordinated from the boundary line, relaying rapid adjustments while Zyrex carried a methane specialist to safety. When hostile drones entered the simulation, the crystalline strategist projected blinding chromatic pulses while Marcus redirected debris to form temporary cover. No single species dominated. They adapted to one another, improvised, evolved in real time. The simulation increased difficulty, environmental instability, resource depletion, communication lag. Instead of fracturing, the team tightened. By the end, the objective was completed in record time. Minimal simulated casualties. Maximum efficiency. The arena was silent. Then applause rippled outward. Even the Carthuan envoys inclined their heads slightly. After the summit, one of the envoys requested private audience. The same commander who had appeared on our screens weeks ago stepped into my office via holoprojection. By the end, the objective was completed in record time. Minimal simulated casualties. Maximum efficiency. The arena was silent. Then applause rippled outward. Even the Carthuan envoys inclined their heads slightly. After the summit, one of the envoys requested private audience. The same commander who had app. Marcus stood beside me. The commander studied him carefully. "You are not physically imposing," the Carthuan said. "Nope," Marcus agreed. "You are not technologically superior." Also true, and yet your presence alters systems. Marcus thought for a moment. "We're good at not staying the same." The commander's golden eyes narrowed. "Is this your species strategy? Psychological destabilization?" Marcus shook his head. "No, it's survival." Silence. Then the commander spoke words I never expected to hear from a Dominion War leader. "Your species will be difficult to conquer." Marcus smiled gently. "We don't plan on being conquered." The transmission ended. I remained standing for several seconds after the projection faded. The truth had crystallized. Humanity's revelation was not that they were the strongest, not that they were the fiercest, not that they were invincible. It was something far more profound. They refused stagnation that art on our screens weeks ago stepped into my office via holoprojection. Every threat becomes a lesson. Every failure becomes data. Every fear becomes fuel. They do not escalate recklessly. They escalate when necessary. And when they do not stop. Later that evening, I stood once more on the observation deck. Marcus joined me, hands resting casually on the railing. "So," he said, "did we pass?" I looked out at the stars, the same stars that once represented distant threats. "Yes," I said quietly. "You did." He tilted his head. "You sound surprised." I spent 30 cycles believing stability was achieved through control, I admitted. "You've demonstrated that stability can emerge from growth." Marcus grinned. "That's Earth for you." "Tell me," I asked, "are all humans like you?" He considered the question seriously. "No," he said. "Some are smarter. Some are stronger. Some are braver." He paused. "But most of us don't quit." That answer settled something deep within me. The galaxy had feared human aggression. It had underestimated human persistence. As Marcus left the deck, laughing about an upcoming exam, I realized the Academy had changed in ways that would never reverse. Students no longer asked, "Who is strongest?" They asked, "How can I improve?" They no longer relied solely on what they were born with. They trained for what they could become. And that was humanity's true weapon. Not claws, not ships, not threats. Potential. The alien principal once said, "No weapons allowed." He had been correct. There were no weapons on campus. Only students. One of them just happened to be human. And that was enough.